I've always believed that family was supposed to be your safe place, the one constant when the rest of the world felt like it was falling apart. But I learned the hard way that sometimes betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It comes from blood. My name's Ethan Miller. I'm 28 years old, and I live in a small suburb outside of Portland, Oregon. I work as a graphic designer for a mid-sized marketing firm downtown. It's not glamorous, but I've always loved it. The quiet satisfaction of creating something beautiful from a blank canvas. I thought my life was fairly peaceful, predictable even, until last year. The year everything with my family fell apart. The center of it all? My sister, Rachel. She's 2 years younger than me. 26, sharp, confident, and the kind of person who always knew how to charm a room. Growing up, she was everyone's favorite. My parents doted on her endlessly, and I didn't mind much. I was the quiet one, the kid who stayed up late sketching while she was out with friends or performing in school plays. I didn't envy her. I loved her genuinely. She was my sister, my best friend, but people change when they learn how powerful lies can be. It started small, a few offhand comments my mom made on our weekly calls. "Ethan, is everything okay at work? Rachel mentioned you were struggling lately." I remember the first time she said it. I was sitting in my apartment, laptop on the couch beside me, halfway through a client project. Struggling? "No, things are fine," I'd said confused. Why would she say that? "Oh," my mom had hesitated. "Maybe I misunderstood. She said something about you missing deadlines and I just wanted to check in." It stung, but I brushed it off. Maybe Rachel had misunderstood something I'd told her in passing. Then there were other things. My dad stopped asking for my opinion on family decisions, house renovations, investments, even simple things like planning their anniversary dinner. Mom grew distant, conversations shorter. And Rachel? She was always there, always helpful, always perfect. The distance grew quietly, invisible at first, then undeniable. The breaking point came that fall. It was late October, and I'd driven home for the weekend, a 4-hour trip I rarely made because of work. I'd brought a bottle of wine and a new tablet for my mom, a gift I thought might make her smile. Instead, I walked into a storm I didn't know existed. My dad was at the dining table, arms crossed. My mom's face was pale and tight. Rachel sat at the corner, eyes red, like she'd been crying. "Ethan," my dad said, voice low. "We need to talk." I didn't even get to set the wine down before he started. Rachel had told them I'd borrowed $5,000 from her 6 months ago and never paid it back. That I'd become unreliable, that I'd been drinking too much, missing work, and that I'd lashed out at her the last time she tried to help me. Every word hit like a punch. I laughed at first, because it was so ridiculous. "What? That's not true, Dad. I never borrowed anything from her." "Don't lie, Ethan," Rachel interrupted softly, eyes glistening. "You promised you'd pay me back." I didn't want to tell them, but she trailed off, letting her voice crack just enough. My parents didn't believe me. Not even a little. That night ended with my father telling me to leave, to get my life together before I came back. I drove home silently, gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles ached. I remember watching the rain smear across the windshield, headlights bending through the water like ghosts. That was the night something in me broke. Weeks passed. I tried to move on, to bury myself in work and pretend I didn't care. But every phone call with my parents felt colder, more forced. The warmth I grew up with was gone, replaced by a quiet, suffocating disappointment. And Rachel? She'd won. She constantly posted photos with my parents, brunches, shopping trips, and Sunday dinners. The captions stung more than I wanted to admit. Family first. I don't know what hurt more, that she lied, or that they believed her so easily. But here's the thing about betrayal. Once it cuts deep enough, it doesn't just fade. It festers. It starts whispering to you in the quiet moments, when you're brushing your teeth or trying to fall asleep. And one night, staring at the ceiling of my dark apartment, I made myself a promise. I wasn't going to let Rachel's lie define me. I was going to find the truth and make sure everyone saw it. I didn't know how yet. But I knew when Christmas, because if Rachel loved playing the perfect daughter in front of our parents, then Christmas would be the stage where her performance finally ended. The first week after I made the Christmas promise, I lived like a ghost inside my own routines. I woke up before sunrise, brewed coffee until the apartment smelled like burnt caramel, and sat on the rug with a yellow legal pad and a pen. I wrote what Rachel said at the top and underlined it twice. Then I started listing facts. Claim, I borrowed $5,000 from her 6 months ago. Reality, I've never borrowed money from her. Check, bank statements, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Zelle, text history. I opened my laptop. The glow washed the room in a cold aquarium light. For hours, I pulled statements, exported PDFs, and highlighted transactions. I searched my messages with Rachel for the word money. The results were almost comically mundane. Rachel, can you send Mom the address of that Thai place? Rachel, what's your Netflix password again? Me. No. Rachel. Rude. Rachel. JK. 6 months. Ago, according to my calendar, it had been early May. I'd gone to Mount Tabor for a Saturday run and then spent the afternoon mocking up beer label concepts for a local craft brewery. In my text history, my parents had sent selfies from a farmer's market. No mention of money. Nothing. I built a timeline like I was preparing for a trail. May, nothing. June, nothing. July, my parents started sounding different. Distant, careful. The first, hey bud, just checking in, with that tightness behind the words. August. Rachel told Mom I was missing deadlines. September. The accusations exploded on the dining room table. I saved the files to a folder called Christmas. It was half a joke, half a vow. Still, proof of absence isn't as persuasive as the presence of proof. My parents didn't think like auditors. They thought like people who'd watched their daughter cry in their kitchen. I needed something undeniable. Something from her. I thumbed my phone and stared at Rachel's contact photo. A candid from 3 years ago, her hair caught in a gust, laughing into the sun. It almost hurt to look at it. Then I did something petty. I changed the photo to the default gray circle. Petty? Yes. Yet it calmed me enough to type. Me. Hey, are you free later? I want to talk about the money. I can make a plan. I watched the typing bubble flicker in and out like a nervous heartbeat. Rachel, finally. I'm at work now. Call after 7. Me. Okay. I set the phone down like it was a live wire. A plan was forming, clumsy, untested. I wanted her to repeat the lie. To say it clearly, specifically, I would not record the call. I was too wary of stumbling into a legal or moral mess. But I'd have my pen in my quiet apartment. I'd ask questions. I'd write down her answers. And if the answers didn't match what she'd told our parents, hairline cracks might begin to show. At 7:02, I called. She answered on the second ring. Hey, she said, voice light, just shy of sing-song. So you've decided to be an adult. I want to clear this up, I said. Remind me of the details. When did I borrow it? May? June, she said. No hesitation. You were short on rent. You said your card got flagged or some crap. You were embarrassed. I wrote, Rachel says June. Short on rent. Card flagged. How did I get the money? I asked. Cash? Transfer? Zelle, she said. To your Wells Fargo. I wrote Zelle to Wells. My stomach felt like it was ejecting steam. And how did we agree I'd pay it back? A couple $100 a month. I could hear her chewing gum. Don't make this weird. Just send something. I covered you. I got you out of a pinch. That's what family does. What's the Zelle memo say? I asked. If I look at bank activity, what would I see? She exhaled loudly. God, Ethan. Why are you being creepy about this? I'm not, I said. I'm trying to do it right. A pause. In the silence, I could hear traffic through her car window, a turn signal clicking. Fine, she said. I don't remember the memo. Rent? June? I don't know. Just send it. Mason even told me I'm too nice for not to charge you interest. Mason? I asked. Who's Mason? None of your business, she snapped too fast. A friend. He fronted me some until I got paid back. Look, I have to go. I'm meeting people. And just like that, she hung up. I set the phone face down and stared at the spider plant by the window until my eyes unfocused. June, Zell, memo unknown, Mason fronted. But 6 months ago, Mom had said Rachel told them I'd borrowed $5,000 from her savings. No mention of rent, no mention of a friend, no mention of Zell. Different story. New names. I logged into Wells Fargo and filtered for incoming Zell transfers in June. The screen filled with white emptiness and a sentence that might as well have been printed in neon. No transactions matched your search. I expanded to May and July just in case. Nothing. I printed the results anyway. I punched holes in the pages and slid them into a cheap black binder, the kind that squeaks when you open it. The tabs I labeled: timeline, bank, texts, and, beneath an empty tab, witnesses. I didn't have witnesses. Yet, I clicked through Rachel's Instagram. In June, there were boomerang clips of Aperol spritzes and a carousel of brunch photos with captions like Sunday Reset. But in late May, a new face started appearing. A guy in mirrored aviators with a sleeve tattoo, always at the edge of the frame. The tag led to a private account. A Mason W. something. The bio, entrepreneur, investor. My first sinking thought was crypto. My second, darker one was debt. I scrolled further and landed on an old photo of Rachel with someone else. Lily. I remembered Lily. For years, she'd been Rachel's best friend, the one who came to our house with a tote bag full of thrifted clothes and a laugh like chiming glass. They'd drifted suddenly last winter. People change, Rachel had said at the time, in that airy, dismissive way of hers. We're just in different places. On impulse, I typed a message. Me. Hey, Lily, it's Ethan, Rachel's brother. Random question. Do you have a minute to talk? It's about something important. I stared at the screen and pictured the message falling into a well. 10 minutes later, a notification pinged. Lily, hey, wow, hi. Yeah, I remember you. I can talk. Everything okay? We switched to a phone call. Her voice sounded the same, bright, clear, with an undertone of caution. I don't want to put you in the middle, I said. But I think Rachel told my parents I borrowed money from her. $5,000. And that I'm not doing well. It's not true. I'm trying to figure out where it came from. Lily was quiet for a long beat. I'm sorry, she said softly. I'm really sorry that's happening to you. Do you know anything about... I hesitated. The air felt delicate like glass dust. About her money situation in June? Or someone named Mason? Yeah, Lily said. And then, with a small, humorless laugh, oh yeah. She told me about a boutique where Rachel had worked part-time in the spring, how she'd started dating a guy who called himself an investor, how there'd been opportunities that looked like multi-level marketing and crypto flips, and how Rachel had always been 2 weeks from a big payout. She asked me for money once, Lily said. Only $1,000. She said it was short-term. I told her no. We had a fight, then we weren't aligned anymore. Did she ever mention me? I asked. Lily exhaled through her nose. Once, in August, I think. We were already not talking much. She posted a story about cleaning house and people who suck energy. It felt pointed. And then, I don't know if this helps, but she sent me a voice note the week after Father's Day. It was short. I didn't respond. I still have it. Could you send it to me? I asked. If you're comfortable. I am, she said. But Ethan, I'm not your enemy. I was your sister's friend. I still have a soft spot for her. She got lost this year. You didn't hear that from me. Her voice cracked, then steadied. I'll send it. When the voice note came through, I walked to the window and played it like it might bite me. Rachel's voice spilled into the room, rapid and breathy, fountain pen ink before it dries. Okay, don't judge me. But I told Mom and Dad I spotted Ethan $5,000, she said, a small, sharp laugh slicing her sentence. He owes me, right? After all those times he made me feel stupid? Anyway, Dad's being super weird about money right now, his emergency fund, but they won't let me drown. You know how it is. I'm not a bad person. I'm making moves. I just need a bridge. There was a clatter in the background like a spoon dropped in a sink. Then the audio ended. I listened again. And again. Every time the word bridge scraped my bones. I sat down slowly. The quiet after it stopped felt like winter. I texted Lily. Thank you. This helps. I won't share it without your permission, Lily. Use it if you need to. Just don't blow up her life, even if she deserves a wake-up call. I'm not out to destroy her, I said, more to the empty room than to Lily. I just want my parents to see me again, and to see her. After we hung up, I slid a fresh tab into the binder. Witnesses now held a printed transcript of the voice note, time-stamped, with Lily's name redacted. I typed it carefully, hands steady. I told Mom and Dad I spotted Ethan $5,000. Dad's being super weird about money right now, his emergency fund, but they won't let me drown. My apartment felt smaller. The air felt like it had definition, but I kept thinking of that one word lodged in the voice note, emergency fund. That was my father's favorite phrase. He'd drilled it into me since I was 12. 3 months' expenses, he'd say, tapping the calculator like a metronome. That's your safety net. That's what lets you breathe. If Rachel had identified his soft spot and aimed straight for it, of course he'd opened his arms. Of course, my mother had flinched at the thought of their son, me, being careless when she'd watched. My father save every receipt in an accordion file. I fell asleep on the car couch and dreamt I was trying to swim to the surface with a book pressed to my chest. Every time I reached the top, someone's hand pushed it gently down again. The next morning, I woke with the sun slicing the blinds and an idea lodged in my throat like a seed. I couldn't just show my parents the absence of in one voice note from a former friend. It would look petty, curated. What I needed was consistency, to catch Rachel in her own net. I pulled up the text from her. Mason even told me I'm too nice for not charging you interest. That line felt like a loose thread. I tugged it. Me. About Mason. Can you send me the Zelle screenshot from June? I need to match the memo. My bank asked for it to verify. A minute passed. Then 3. Then the bubble. Rachel. Ugh, I don't keep screenshots of that stuff. Me. You can scroll. Or ask. Mason, since he fronted you. Rachel. He's busy. Me. I'll wait. She didn't reply. I stared at the screen long enough to see my reflection in the glass and not like what I saw. Jaw clenched. Eyes ringed with fatigue. I set the phone down and went to work. I did my job. I designed an autumn-themed newsletter. I ate a muffin that tasted like cinnamon sawdust. Every hour or two, I glanced at my phone. Nothing. At 5:12 p.m., she sent a message. Rachel, stop harassing me. Mom told me you're being dramatic. This is exactly why I didn't want to tell them. You make everything ugly. I read the text 4 times until the words lost their shapes. Then I did something I'd never done before. I called my mother without warning. She answered on the second ring. Her voice was cautious, that new tone I hated. "Ethan?" "I'm not being dramatic," I said. I kept my voice even. "I'm asking for basic details. June, you said? Zell? 5,000? A pause. A sigh. "Rachel didn't say Zell," Mom said, surprising me. She said she withdrew cash. She didn't want a paper trail because she was trying to protect your pride. I closed my eyes. "She told me Zell," I said. "She told me Mason fronted her." "Mason?" Mom repeated, uncertain. "She never mentioned a Mason." "I figured," I said. My mouth felt dry. "Mom, if I show you my bank statements from June, if I show you there's no deposit of 5,000, no Zelle, no cash deposit, will you look?" Without Rachel in the room? She hesitated. "I don't want to pick sides," she said finally. "But I'll look." It wasn't a victory, but it was the first, tiniest turn of the lock. After we hung up, I leaned my forehead against the cool window. Outside, the streetlights were switching on, feathering the sidewalk with pale circles. My phone buzzed in my palm. A message from an unknown number. "Hey, is this Ethan?" "This is Noah, Lily's friend. We met at Rachel's 24th, I think. Lily said you're dealing with some Rachel stuff. I have something you should see." I remembered him vaguely. The guy who'd brought a Polaroid camera and taken a photo of me pretending to look serious in a paper crown. I typed back, "Yes, I remember." "What is it?" 3 dots. Then a photo arrived. A cropped screenshot of a text thread. The sender's name was Rach. The message, "Told them Ethan owes me $5K. They freaked, but they'll help. Dad's soft about savings, LOL. Don't judge me. I'm paying you back when the flip hits this week. Don't be scary." Below, a reply bubble. Presumably Noah. "You are playing with fire." My chest filled with heat and something like grief. I zoomed in. The timestamp read June 18th, 10:43 p.m. Noah sent a second screenshot. Another message from Rachel. "It's not like he doesn't owe me anyway, for all the times he made me feel like the dumb one. This is balance." I felt the chair under me, the binder at my feet, the plant by the window. I felt all of it and none of it. I typed slowly, hands steady. "Me. Can I use these?" Noah. "Use? How?" "Me. To show my parents the truth. To show them I didn't take money. That she used me to leverage theirs." Noah. "I'm not trying to be in a family war, but I'm tired of her hurting people." "Yeah." "Use them. Just blur my name." Me. "Thank you." I printed the screenshots. I slid them into witnesses behind Lily's transcript. Then I sat very still for a long time, listening to my building hum. The pipes, the neighbor's television through the wall, the distant elevator groaning. The binder looked heavier now. It looked like something that could change a room. Still, a new worry tugged at me. I had text receipts. I had a voice note. I had my bank statements. But I also had parents who'd watched their daughter cry and who, somewhere beneath their disappointment in me, still saw me as the steady one, who didn't need help, who would always land on his feet. The story had to be more than a courtroom exhibit. It had to be a mirror held at the right angle. Christmas. I ran a thumb along the edge of the binder. If I waited for then, I could assemble this cleanly. Print it. Wrap it in something beautiful, a designer's parting shot. But Christmas meant letting 6 more weeks pass while my family photoed brunches with captions about gratitude. Could I wait? Could I carry this? My phone buzzed, startling me. Another message. This time from Rachel. "If you keep digging into my business, you won't like what you find." I stared at the screen. Then I set the phone face down again. I had already found what I needed. What I didn't know, what kept needling at me, was why. Why me? Why now? Why that number? Why the satisfaction in her voice? I slid the binder into my backpack and zipped it. Tomorrow, I will make a copy at the print shop down the street. One for me, one sealed just in case. That night, sleep came slowly and electric. In the thin hours, I woke with a thought flickering like a faulty light bulb. If she used Dad's emergency fund as a lever, maybe she left fingerprints on the lever itself. My father loved paper. He printed bank statements, 99-cent store receipts, and warranties for appliances we didn't own anymore. If Rachel had appealed to his softness in June, there might be emails, notes, a calendar entry for a transfer. Something. I pictured his office. The oak desk, the blue lamp whose shade he'd repaired with super glue, the accordion file labeled emergency in block letters. I pictured the drawer that stuck on humid days and the key he kept in a ceramic bowl shaped like a fish. The bowl had been my Father's Day gift when I was 8. He'd said, "Look at that, E. This fish eats keys." I closed my eyes and saw it, glazed turquoise, a hairline crack along the tail. I knew then that I'd have to go home before Christmas. Not to explode anything, not yet. Just to look carefully for the fingerprints she'd left. I didn't know what I'd find. But I knew where to start, at the fish. The weekend I decided to drive back home. Portland was wrapped in that gray drizzle that never fully commits to rain. The kind that seeps into your sleeves without sound. I packed light, a change of clothes, my binder, and a flash drive shaped like a silver pen. The drive to my parents' house in Salem took 2 hours, but it felt longer with every mile marker. The closer I got, the more my chest tightened, not from fear exactly, but from the tension of walking willingly back into a lie. When I finally turned onto our old cul-de-sac, everything looked the same. The maple tree that split in half during the 2019 storm still bore its scar. The porch light still flickered once before it steadied, and Mom's wind chime still sang out of tune, except the house felt smaller. Maybe that's what betrayal does. It shrinks the world you used to know. Mom opened the door before I could knock. "Ethan," she said softly, her expression uncertain. She hugged me, but it was careful, the kind of hug you give a guest, not a son. "Dad's in the garage," she said. "He's fixing that lamp again." Some things really didn't change. Inside, the air smelled like coffee and lemon polish. Rachel's laughter echoed faintly from upstairs. She was home too. Of course she was. I set my bag by the door. "I was passing through," I said casually. "Thought I'd stop by." Mom smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "That's nice. We've missed you." It sounded practiced, like she'd rehearsed it. We sat at the kitchen island. Steam from her mug curled between us. For a moment, I almost dropped the plan. Almost told her everything right there, binder open, evidence spread like confession. But I needed to be smart. One mistake, and Rachel would smell blood. So I waited until the afternoon, when Mom went grocery shopping and Rachel was upstairs on a call. I slipped quietly toward Dad's office. The door creaked open just enough to let me in. The office hadn't changed in years. The same oak desk, blue lamp, and the ceramic fishbowl, my Father's Day gift from 2 decades ago, sitting proudly by the edge. "Hey, old friend," I whispered to the fish. Inside the bowl, the same brass key gleamed faintly. My hands trembled as I picked it up. The desk drawer groaned in protest before giving way. Stacks of folders, receipts, tax records. And there, a slim accordion file labeled Emergency Fund. My pulse quickened. I pulled it out and flipped through the envelopes until I found one marked June 2024, transfer. Inside, a single printed email thread, subject, short-term loan for Rachel, from Dad to Mom. I transferred $5,000 from our savings to Rachel this morning. She said Ethan's struggling to make rent and didn't want us to know. I hate going behind his back, but she insists it's just temporary. We'll get it back soon. Below it, Mom's reply, if it helps him get back on his feet, it's worth it. Just don't let him feel guilty. My throat went dry. There it was. The lie in black and white. Rachel hadn't even said she loaned me her money. She told them I was too ashamed to ask for help directly, and used that guilt to make them transfer it to her. She didn't just lie about me. She stole from them. I took a photo of the email with my phone, then carefully placed everything back exactly as it was. The fish got his key back too. I made sure of it. When I turned around, I nearly jumped out of my skin. What are you doing? Rachel was in the doorway, arms crossed, her face unreadable. My brain scrambled. Looking for the stapler, I said quickly. I needed it for… Dad's not here, she interrupted, stepping inside. You don't touch his stuff. Her tone wasn't angry. It was measured. A warning. I wasn't… Whatever you're doing, she said, eyes narrowing. Stop. You think you're smarter than everyone, Ethan, but you always underestimate people. She brushed past me and picked up the ceramic fish. Her thumb ran along the crack in its tail. Remember this? She asked, almost wistful. You used to hide candy in here. Yeah, I said quietly. She looked up, smile gone. Don't come here snooping again. Then she left, just like that, and her perfume lingered like poison in the air. That night, after everyone went to bed, I sat in my old car with the binder open on my lap. I added the photo of the email to the evidence tab and labeled it, Parents Transfer, Rachel Intermediary. The rain started again, soft, rhythmic. It sounded like a heartbeat. I could expose her right now, I thought. March inside, show Mom and Dad everything, demand they see. But something stopped me. The look on Rachel's face when she caught me. Not fear, not guilt. Control. She still believed she had the upper hand. That was her weakness. I'd learned something else from Dad over the years. Patience compounds. So I waited. The next morning, over breakfast, Mom mentioned Christmas dinner. Rachel wants to host this year, she said. She's been planning it for weeks. She's really excited to have everyone together again. Everyone? I asked carefully. You, of course, Mom said. She insisted. Of course she did. A perfect audience. The whole family together. Laughter, food, decorations, and underneath it all, the truth waiting like a spark under dry wood. I'll be there, I said softly. And as Rachel walked past me, phone in hand, humming to herself, I knew she heard me. A week before Christmas, the city was glowing with the kind of cheer that always made me feel slightly outside of it. Store windows dressed in twinkling gold, strangers carrying peppermint lattes, couples walking under umbrellas that touched. But my focus wasn't on lights or warmth. It was on a plan. My binder had grown heavier, literally and metaphorically. I'd added printed screenshots, the transcript of Rachel's voice note, my bank records, and now the photo of Dad's email. Every page was dated and annotated like a court case. Still, every time I flipped through it, I felt an ache. Because this wasn't just evidence, it was the unraveling of my family. The call that Thursday, Dad called. Hey, son, he said, voice weary but trying to sound normal. Mom said you might come for Christmas, is that true? Yeah, I said. I'll be there. Good, I'm glad. There was silence. Then he added, Listen, Ethan, I owe you an apology. The words caught me off guard. For what? For believing things I shouldn't have, he said slowly. Your sister, she's been different lately. Secretive. Money's gone missing from a few accounts and, well, your mother doesn't want to think the worst. My pulse spiked. Missing how? Small amounts at first, he said. Then 5,000. I told myself it was some accounting issue, but last week she came by saying she'd pay it back after the new year. She looked nervous. He sighed, and I could hear the exhaustion under his words. I don't know what's going on anymore. I just wish she'd talk to me straight. He had no idea I'd already found his email, that I'd seen the evidence of how she'd tricked them. Dad, I said carefully, If I told you I never took that money, that I never even asked for it, would you believe me? There was a pause. I want to, he said. But it's hard, son. You know how this has looked. Then let me show you something at Christmas, I said quietly. Just keep an open mind. Show me? Yeah, you'll understand then, he hesitated. Then softly, all right, Ethan, I trust you. When he said that, I had to swallow hard to keep from cracking. Because I knew what trust meant to him. It was a promise, not a word. Building the moment. For the next several days, I fine-tuned everything. I designed a small hardcover book, my own little Trojan horse. The cover read, "For the Family, a Year in Reflection." Inside, each page looked like a simple photo journal. Smiling pictures of us from past holidays, captions in my handwriting font. But halfway through, the layout changed. The images faded, replaced by screenshots and printed texts. By the end, the final page read, "The truth doesn't destroy families. Lies do." Then, on the last line, December 25th, "Merry Christmas." It was brutal, clean, honest. I printed 3 copies, one for each of them, and sealed them in identical red gift boxes. I knew it was theatrical. But Rachel's weapon had been performance, and this time, I'd use her stage against her. The visit, when I arrived on Christmas Eve, the house glowed with warmth, cinnamon candles, the tree twinkling in the corner, music humming softly through the speakers. Mom was stirring cocoa. Dad was fixing a light bulb near the hallway, and Rachel was radiant. She wore a red dress that looked expensive, with her hair curled perfectly, smiling like a host on a holiday commercial. "Ethan!" she exclaimed, arms wide. "You came!" "Of course," I said, forcing a smile. She hugged me tightly, too tightly. Her perfume smelled like vanilla and something synthetic underneath, like a mask. "I'm so glad," she said near my ear. "Let's not ruin Christmas this year, okay?" Her tone was sweet, but the undercurrent was clear. Behave. "Sure," I said. "Let's not ruin it." Dinner was almost painfully normal. My parents talked about neighbors. Rachel told a story about her new marketing job, and I smiled at the right moments. But beneath the surface, my heartbeat stayed steady and deliberate. The gift sat beneath the tree, wrapped, labeled, innocent. When dessert ended, Rachel clapped her hands. "Let's open presents," she said, grinning. "Go ahead," Dad said, smiling tiredly. She passed out boxes, and one by one, wrapping paper began to fall to the floor like snow. Laughter filled the room. And then it was my turn. "Mine are the red ones," I said. "For everyone," Mom smiled. "Ethan, you didn't have to—" "I wanted to," I said. They each took one, Mom, Dad, and Rachel. Rachel shook hers playfully. "What is it?" "Feels like a book." "Something like that," I said. "You and your sentimental gifts," she teased, tearing into the paper. The first few pages drew smiles. "Oh, honey, this is beautiful," Mom said, flipping through the old photos. Then she turned another page. And another, her brow furrowed. Dad leaned in, frowning. "What's this?" he asked. Rachel's smile froze. On the next page, there was a screenshot of her text. "Told them Ethan owes me $5K. They freaked, but they'll help." "Ethan?" Dad said, voice low. "What is this supposed to be?" Rachel's face went pale. This is fake." I didn't say a word. I just watched as they turned each page. The emails, the bank statements, the voice note transcript. Proof layered over proof. Mom's hand trembled. Dad's lips parted slightly, eyes flicking back and forth. Finally, Rachel slammed the book shut. "This is insane," she snapped. "He's obsessed. You're seriously bringing this up on Christmas?" "You lied," I said, calm. "You used them. You told them I took money when you took it yourself. You made me the villain so you could steal from your own parents." "That's not true," she shouted. You don't understand." "Then explain," I said softly. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Just silence. Dad stood slowly. His hands were shaking. "Rachel," he said, voice breaking, "tell me you didn't do this." Her eyes filled with tears, but not the kind I used to feel sorry for. These were desperate, cornered tears. "I just needed help," she cried. "You always help Ethan even when he doesn't ask. I was drowning and you wouldn't listen." Mom covered her mouth. "Rachel?" "It's not fair," Rachel yelled, her voice cracking. "He gets everything. Trust, respect, and freedom. I just wanted to lie," I said, "to survive." Her voice echoed against the walls, raw and shaking. For a long moment, nobody moved. The only sound was the faint buzz of Christmas lights. Then Dad walked over to the tree, pulled the plug, and the room dimmed. He looked at her, really looked at her, and his voice was quiet when he spoke. "You've hurt everyone in this house tonight." Rachel stepped back like she'd been slapped. "Dad, enough," he said, and it was the kind of final that doesn't need shouting. She turned to me, eyes blazing. "You think you won, Ethan? You think they'll ever love you the same now?" "I don't want to win," I said. "I just wanted the truth." Her lip trembled. Then she stormed upstairs, footsteps pounding like a heartbeat that refused to stop. When I finally looked at my parents, they both looked older, smaller. "I didn't want to do it this way," I said quietly. But I couldn't keep letting her lie. Mom nodded slowly, tears in her eyes. "I know," she whispered. "You did what we couldn't." Dad didn't say anything for a long time. Then he walked over and put a hand on my shoulder. "Thank you," he said simply. And just like that, the room felt heavier, like truth had settled in the air and refused to leave. I thought it was over. But later that night, as I packed my bag to leave, I noticed my phone buzzing. A text from Rachel. "You shouldn't have done that. You think you know everything, but you don't. You have no idea what you started." I stared at the screen until the words blurred, because something in her tone wasn't just anger. It was fear, and that meant this story wasn't over yet. The morning after Christmas, the house felt like a body after a fight, silent, bruised, and aching in every corner. The smell of last night's cocoa still hung in the air, but the warmth was gone. Mom sat at the kitchen table in her robe, a half-drunk cup of coffee cooling beside her. Her eyes were swollen, the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. Dad was outside in the driveway, scraping frost off the windshield, even though he wasn't going anywhere. He just needed something to do with his hands. Rachel's door upstairs was shut. At least, that's what I thought when I went to knock. The sound that came back wasn't the dull thud of knuckles on wood. It was hollow. The kind of hollow that says empty. I opened it slowly. Her room was bare. The suitcase from under her bed was gone. The dresser drawers hung open, half empty. Only a few stray hangers swung lazily in her closet, clicking together like bones. On the desk, there was a note. "Don't worry about me. I'll fix this. I promise. Rano Hart." No apology. Just that. Mom stood in the doorway behind me. I heard the tiny sound of her breath catch. "She's gone," I nodded. "Looks like it." Dad appeared a moment later, the cold air following him in like a shadow. He stared at the note for a long time, then crumpled it in his fist. "Where would she go?" he muttered. "She doesn't have anyone." "Mason," I said quietly. They both turned to me. "Who's Mason?" Dad asked. "Someone she's been seeing," I said. "He's the guy she mentioned when I called her a few weeks ago." "The one who was supposedly fronting her money?" Mom frowned. "Do you know his last name?" I did. I'd seen it on his private Instagram handle. Williams or Wilson? Something like that. Dad went straight to his laptop, opening their family email account. He typed Mason into the search bar, and within seconds a thread popped up. The subject line read, "Reinvestment Proposal." I felt my stomach drop. He opened the email. The sender's address was mason.williams.cryptoagmail.com. The message read, "Rachel mentioned you might be open to diversifying your savings. We're helping a small group of early investors get in on a token launch. The return is guaranteed, 200% minimum within 60 days. Rachel's already part of the first round. We'd love to include family. Attached was a sleek PDF brochure, complete with charts, buzzwords, and a fake logo that looked just convincing enough to fool someone who wanted to believe. Mom whispered. She didn't. She did, I said. That's why she needed the money. Not for me, for this. Dad rubbed his face, looking 10 years older in an instant. She must have thought she could double it, pay us back before we noticed. Classic quicksand, I said. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. He turned the laptop around. Do you think this Mason's even real? I hesitated. I think he's real enough to ruin her. I spent the next 2 days calling every number I could find. Rachel's phone went straight to voicemail, that tinny, familiar recording that now felt like a ghost. Hey, it's Rach. Leave it if it's worth it. She hadn't updated it in years. I called Lily. Oh my God, she said the moment she picked up. I saw your post. Did you really expose her last night? It wasn't supposed to go viral, I said. It's viral? She repeated. I blinked. What? Ethan, it's all over Facebook. Someone recorded the Christmas thing. Like the whole confrontation. I froze. What do you mean by recorded? Someone in your family posted it, I guess. It's spreading. People are talking about how brave you were. But some are calling it cruel. I didn't even have the words. I just sat there hearing my own pulse in my ears. When I opened Facebook, there it was. A video posted by Deborah Miller's Family Moments, Mom's account. She must have uploaded it by mistake or didn't realize it was public. The video already had 3,000 views. The comments were a battlefield, half sympathetic, half disgusted. Good for him. Families need honesty. Yikes. That poor girl. Imagine airing it online. They're both toxic. My stomach turned. I called Mom immediately. Mom, I said, you need to delete that video, now. What video? She asked, genuinely confused. The one from last night. You posted it to Facebook, a pause. Then a sharp inhale. Oh God, I meant to send it to your father. I must have... Just take it down. By the time she deleted it, it had over 8,000 views. And in that ocean of strangers, there was one comment that made my blood run cold. Rach Miller, this you? Followed by a tag, Rachel's Instagram handle, which meant she saw it too. That night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Ethan Miller? A man's voice said. Yeah? This is Detective Calder with the Salem PD. We're trying to reach your sister, Rachel Miller. You're listed as her emergency contact. My stomach dropped. What happened? We recovered her car near the Clackamas River. It looks like it was abandoned. No signs of foul play, but we'd like to ask a few questions. For a second, I couldn't speak. She's not there? No, he said gently. Just her purse and a few personal items. If she contacts you, please call us immediately. I hung up slowly, my hand shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. Mom found me sitting on the porch steps 10 minutes later. Ethan? She said softly. What's wrong? I told her everything. The car, the detective, the voicemail. She didn't say a word at first, just stared out into the dark yard, the snow falling like static. We have to find her, she whispered finally. No matter what she did, and I agreed. Because revenge only felt righteous until it brushed against fear. 2 days later, I got a text from an unknown number. She's fine. Stop looking. No name. No context. Just that? I called the number immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. When I traced it online, it led nowhere. A burner prepaid SIM, registered out of Vancouver. Washington, I forwarded it to Detective Calder. He said they'd look into it, but his tone carried the fatigue of a man who'd said the same thing too many times. That night, unable to sleep, I plugged my phone into my laptop and started scrolling through Rachel's old emails. I still had her Gmail access from when I helped her set up her account years ago, and there it was. Dozens of emails from Mason Williams starting back in April. The earliest one read, "Don't tell anyone about this yet, especially family. They wouldn't understand. Then, you're going to be rich, Rach. Just trust me." And finally, 2 weeks before Christmas. We need another 5K to hold your position. I know you said your brother has cash. Can he help? My hands froze. He'd told her to get it from me, and when she couldn't, she found another way. The knock the next morning, just before dawn. There was a knock at my apartment door. When I opened it, a woman stood there. Maybe mid-30s, dark coat, tired eyes. Ethan Miller? Yeah. My name's Tara Williams, she said. Mason's sister. Her voice trembled slightly. We need to talk, she said. About Rachel. The way she said her name, soft, almost broken, told me that whatever story I thought I knew was about to get a lot darker. Tara Williams looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. Her dark hair was pulled into a loose bun, heiries rimmed with red, and a crumpled envelope clutched in her hand like it was keeping her tethered to something real. I stepped aside without thinking. Come in, she nodded, brushing past me into the small warmth of my apartment. Her coat smelled faintly of smoke and rain. I'm sorry for showing up like this, she said, voice low. I saw your number on a post. Something about your sister, Rachel. I recognized the name. I think we can help each other. I gestured toward the couch. You know where she is? Tara shook her head. Not exactly, but I know who she was with. My brother, Mason. He's not who he pretends to be. Her voice broke slightly on his name. Mason's shadow. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. Not unlike my own binder, but worn, the edges soft from being handled too often. Inside were printed emails, screenshots, and handwritten notes. He's been running scams for years, she said. Crypto, investments, real estate, fake startups. Always the same pattern. Promise a big return, disappear once the money clears. She pointed to a photo. Mason standing in front of a BMW, smiling widely, sunglasses reflecting the ocean. He uses charm like a weapon, she said bitterly. He finds people who are desperate, proud, or both. Rachel. She fit the pattern. I looked down at the photo, remembering the fragments I'd seen online, his name under captions like New Beginnings and Big Moves Ahead. How did you find me? I asked. Her name came up when I went through his contacts, Tara said. I found an email thread labeled Bridge Transfer R. I didn't know what it meant until I saw her missing post on Facebook. The word bridge made my skin prickle. Rachel had used it in her voice note. I just need a bridge. Did Mason ever mention me? I asked. Tara flipped through a few pages and found an email. It was short, dated December 18th, 1 week before Christmas. He's been asking questions. Ours spooked. Might bail early. Keep her close until payout. The air went cold between us. She said softly. That's you, right? I nodded, numb. He used her to get to you? Maybe, she said. Or maybe she used your name to keep him interested. Either way, by the time she realized he wasn't legit, she was in deep. He'd already taken thousands from her. She rubbed her temples. She called me once, early December. I didn't know who she was at the time. She said she was scared, that Mason was talking about leaving the country. She asked if I could get through to him. I told her I hadn't spoken to him in months. What did she say? Just, he's not who you think. Then she hung up. Tara slid the envelope across the coffee table. I found this in one of his storage units near Vancouver. It was in a box labeled Accounts. I think you should hear it. Inside was a small USB drive. My hands trembled as I plugged it into my laptop. A single audio file appeared, bridgerecording.mp3. We listened together. There was static at first, then Rachel's voice, shaky, low. Mason, please, I can't get more. I told you my parents are already asking questions. A man's voice, smooth, confident. Mason. Relax, baby. It's just a few more days. They'll get it back double, I swear. You said that last time. You don't trust me? I trusted you with everything. She snapped, her voice breaking. I told them Ethan needed it. I lied to my family for you. You said you'd fix it before Christmas. A pause. A chair scraping. Then Mason's voice again, lower, sharper. You shouldn't have said his name. What? Your brother. You shouldn't have dragged him into this. He's clean. Now, if this goes bad, they'll look at him. Mason, you said you'd do anything for me. So do it. Stay quiet until I say go. After the drop, we disappear. No more questions. Then the sound of footsteps faded, and the recording cut out. I sat there, heart pounding in my ears. Where did you find this? I asked quietly. In a locked drawer, Tara said. Along with a fake passport and 10 burner phones. She looked down, ashamed. I've been trying to turn it over to the police, but they need a victim. Someone willing to go on record. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Rachel's not a victim anymore. She's missing. Then it's you, Tara said. He dragged you into this too. And if he thinks you're still looking, she didn't finish the sentence. That night after Tara left, I couldn't sit still. The city outside my window looked unreal. Traffic lights blinking like distant stars, rain streaking the glass in warped reflections. I opened the audio file again, listening for background noise. There was something faint, a rhythmic thump beneath their voices. Not music, machinery. I ran it through a free audio filter, isolating the low frequencies. The pattern was mechanical, cyclical, like a generator or a warehouse ventilation system. Rachel must have recorded that conversation somewhere industrial. Then, around the 052 mark, a distinct beep. Twice. I recognized it instantly, the same sound my dad's old Canon copy machine made when it finished a scan. I'd heard it all my life growing up, which meant she'd been somewhere with office equipment, not a random warehouse. I thought of the emails. Token launch. Early investors. Proposal. Mason's scam wasn't run out of a basement. He used the appearance of legitimacy, probably rented co-working offices under fake business names, and if he had, there'd be leases. I spent the next 3 hours combing through public records. In June, a Mason Williams had registered an LLC in Oregon under the name Bridgepoint Ventures, the same word Rachel had used. The address? A small office park on the outskirts of Milwaukee, less than an hour from my apartment. The next morning, I drove there. The building looked ordinary. A row of glass doors, each labeled with different company names. Tax Pro, Sage Nutrition, Evergreen Realty. But halfway down the row was a door with a peeled-off sign and faded tape outline where a nameplate had been removed. A ghost impression of letters still clung to the glass. Bridgepoint. I tried the handle. It opened. The air inside smelled stale, like dust and leftover coffee. Desks were overturned, cables scattered, papers abandoned. Someone had left in a hurry, but on the wall, pinned crookedly, was a corkboard full of notes and receipts. Most were useless, scribbles about launch dates and client leads. But one caught my eye, a sticky note. R, meet at Falls by 12:27, no phones. I looked at the date. December 27th, tomorrow. My pulse quickened. The Falls. There was only one place that could mean around here. The Willamette Falls, about an hour south. It wasn't much. But it was the first place connected to her since she vanished. I snapped a photo of the note, backed away, and pulled out my phone. Detective Calder, I said when he answered. I think I know where my sister might be. That evening, I sat by my window, binder open, pages fluttering in the soft hum of the heater. Tara texted me once. Be careful. If he knows you're coming, he'll disappear again, I replied. I'm not going there to scare him. I just want to find her, but in truth, it wasn't just about finding her anymore. It was about ending this. The lies, the manipulation, the rot that had started with a fake investment and bled into every corner of our lives. As midnight settled, I looked at the last page of my binder, the one that had once read Christmas. I took a pen and crossed it out. Then I wrote, December 27th, The Falls. I closed the binder slowly, like closing a wound. Tomorrow, I'd either find Rachel or the ghost of what she'd become. The morning was bitterly cold when Detective Calder met me in the parking lot overlooking Willamette Falls. Mist rose from the churning water below, veiling everything in a thin white fog. "You're sure this is the place?" he asked, tightening his jacket. I nodded and showed him the photo of the sticky note. She was supposed to meet him here today. We walked along the trail that wound toward the overlook. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, part nerves, part cold. Every few steps, I half expected to see her silhouette emerge from the mist. Instead, I saw a car, a white Honda Civic, parked crookedly near the guardrail. Calder moved ahead, hand resting on his sidearm. "Stay back," he murmured. When he peered through the window, his voice dropped. "There's a purse." And wait, he opened the driver's door carefully. Inside was Rachel's leather bag, her phone, and a small folded note on the passenger seat. He handed it to me. My name was on the front. My hands trembled as I opened it. "If you found this, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Mason said it was safe, said we'd leave today. But he's not the man I thought. Please tell Mom and Dad I love them. I'll come home when I can." Hurry! I stared at the note, the words swimming. "She's alive," I whispered. "She's running," Calder nodded grimly. "Maybe, but she's not alone. Look." He pointed toward the mud near the railing. 2 sets of footprints, one small, one much larger, leading toward the woods. And just like that, the mist swallowed the path where they disappeared. The forest behind the falls was quiet, except for the hiss of water and the crunch of boots on wet leaves. Detective Calder moved ahead with a flashlight, his breath fogging in the cold air. We followed the 2 sets of footprints deeper into the trees until they split, one heading downhill, the other circling back toward the road. Calder crouched. "One's lighter," he said. "Running. The other's slower, heavier. Rachel running, Mason following." We kept walking until the path opened onto an old maintenance shed, half collapsed, moss climbing its walls. Calder motioned for silence, then pushed the door open. Inside, nothing. Just broken crates, an oil drum, and the faint smell of smoke. Then I saw it. A scarf, red, familiar, snagged on a nail by the door. Rachel's. I picked it up slowly, my throat tightening. "She was here," I whispered. Calder nodded. "Not long ago." From somewhere in the distance, a car engine roared to life, fast, fading toward the highway. We turned at the same time. Mason wasn't gone. He was leaving. We sprinted through the mud, following the sound of the engine echoing off the cliffs. Calder radioed backup while I ran ahead, my lungs burning from the cold air. At the edge of the access road, we saw it. A black pickup, fishtailing as it turned onto the main highway. Rachel was in the passenger seat, her hands pressed to the window. She saw me. For a split second, our eyes met, and then they were gone in a blur of tires and exhaust. "That's him!" I shouted. Calder jumped into his cruiser, siren flaring. "Stay behind me." I followed in my car, headlights cutting through the fog. The road wound along the river, slick and narrow. Twice, Mason's truck swerved into oncoming lanes before righting itself. He was desperate or reckless, maybe both. Then, without warning, his taillights disappeared. We turned the corner and found the truck sideways across the shoulder, one door hanging open. The passenger seat, empty. Rachel was gone. The wood swallowed every sound but my breath. My flashlight cut thin beams through the mist until it caught a shape moving ahead. Mason. He stumbled through the brush, bleeding from a cut on his forehead, muttering Rachel's name. "Mason!" I yelled. He turned, eyes wild. "She ran," he barked. "You ruined everything. She took the drive." "Where is she?" He laughed, ragged and broken. "You think she's innocent? She took my money too." We circled each other, the river roaring behind us. "You used her," I said. "You used all of us." "I gave her a choice," he sneered. "She wanted the easy way out." My fists clenched, but before I could move, sirens grew louder. Mason glanced toward the road, then bolted. Calder's voice shouted from behind me, "Ethan, get back!" A flash of light, a shout, then the thud of boots. When I looked again, Mason was face down in the dirt. cuffs around his wrists. It was over, almost. It was nearly dawn when Calder found me sitting on the tailgate of his cruiser, the world slowly turning gray. Mason was gone, hauled off, cursing, bleeding, finished. Calder handed me a small plastic bag. Inside was Rachel's phone, recovered from Mason's truck. It was locked, he said, but we pulled one unsent draft. He passed me a printout. It was a message addressed to me. If you see this, I got out. He said he'd hurt you if I didn't go with him, so I played along until I could take what he stole and run. I never wanted any of this. Tell Mom and Dad I'm sorry. Don't look for me. I'm done lying. Maybe someday, when I fix what's left, I'll find my way home. The words blurred as I read them. She'd stayed with Mason not because she trusted him, but because she was trying to protect me. I looked up at Calder. You think she's alive? He nodded slowly. She's smart. If she had the money, she can disappear for a while. Maybe that's what she needs. I folded the note carefully, tucking it into my pocket. For the first time in months, I didn't feel anger. Just quiet. The falls thundered below, and I imagined her standing somewhere far away. A train station, a small motel, her scarf wrapped tight, finally free. A week later, I drove back to Salem. The snow had melted into gray slush, and the house looked smaller than ever. Mom met me at the door. No words, just a long, shaking hug. Dad stood behind her, eyes tired but softer than before. Any news? He asked. Not yet, I said. But she's alive. We sat at the table where everything had fallen apart weeks before. The silence between us wasn't heavy anymore. It was healing. Mom touched my hand. You did what you had to, she whispered. And you brought us back the truth. I nodded, though my chest ached. Truth had a cost, but it also cleared the air, like a storm washing through. Before leaving, I placed Rachel's note on the counter. If she ever comes home, I said, let her know we're ready to start over. Dad smiled faintly. We will. As I stepped outside, the wind smelled like rain again, clean, new. I looked back once, at the window glowing warm behind me, and felt something I hadn't in months. Peace.